podcast where no subject is too taboo to discuss. Now, please welcome your hosts, Andy Barker and Drew Del Pree. Are you muted?
No.
Whoa. Holy
I made sure I clicked it off, Andy. We haven't been on in a while.
I know, and you got it right out of the gate.
My bad habits are gone.
I don't know if I'd go that far.
Hey, let me kick it off though. But welcome everybody back, and hey, we may have a listener or two out of the firehouses out there. I started becoming a volunteer firefighter. I won't say where. I don't want to damage anyone's good name.
Jesus Christ! Almost just threw up right over in the.
Oh no! If you got to take care of it, go ahead, man. I got some stories. We'll continue welcoming people.
I'll clean it later.
No worries. But anyway, hey, welcome to the guys down in the firehouse. They're listening or doing anything or whatever. Happy to have you in. We do have a phone number. You're welcome to call, and we won't answer.
You might.
It's technical difficulties, but welcome. This is what it's about. Don't let your children around here. It gets pretty raw sometimes. But that's been an interesting journey.
We were just talking about it, and it sounds fascinating, man.
The concepts of firefighting in the military, just so similar, and and a lot of the tools were similar. Andy and I were talking about.
Not all of them, but the one that's very surprising is the breaching tool.
Yeah. A lot of the breaching tools are the same, and he was showing me. They were teaching about one of the tools, the Halligan, and I was like, "Oh, we call that the hooligan." And then he said, "Oh, we have a really bad one that we call the hooligan, like it's not made good."
Jeez.
We call that the hooligan, And I said, "No, we call this one the because you get a set of hoolies. Is what you get the banger, you got the rake, and then the Halligan." A mini one, I'm learning. The standard is I'm gonna fail my mentor here, but I believe the standard is an 18-inch Halligan. I could be wrong, could be 30. But at the end of the day, I think it is 30. Anyway, at the end of the day, the tools are the same.
It reminds me of that old joke. Why are women so horrible at math?
Yeah.
Because they've been told all their lives that that's fucking 8 inches.
That's right. That's right.
Shit. Look at that. Camera just went ape shit.
Nice. It had to zoom in.
I can't.
Were you filming your porno again?
No. Wait. Oh, okay, good. I did take the plastic off.
We need the long lens.
I gotta fix this camera though. It's going to drive
It's
me
awesome.
insane.
You look like Katie Couric.
Oh, what did I ever do to you?
That interview she did to her face, and then it was so funny. I was watching Conservatives, or I was watching Gutfeld last night, and he's like, "Why?" One of the questions from one of the panels, like, "Why do liberals podcasts feel like they need to be up against?" It's like every one of them is like up here. He's like, what?
Right?
Oh man, her face was,
Oh, Don Lemon, he's famous for that.
That's great. He thinks he's some kind of like saint leader. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's funny that all they have to do when he throws out that, "Well, I'm a journalist" line. No, you used to be. You got fired, fool. You are not a journalist.
We haven't talked in a while, Andy. So you remember Mark Kelly and those 5 other people? They call them the Seditious Six.
Yes.
Cut that commercial telling soldiers and sailors that they don't need to follow illegal orders, right? Which they never had to cut because that's covered annually.
Right.
So they never needed to say that. We signed documents about that every year. So no one needed a reminder. No one needed to hear from Mark Kelly. So a federal judge threw out, he sued Hegseth for trying to bring him in to reduce him in rank.
Mm-hmm.
And a federal judge threw it out.
Hmm.
What do you think about that?
Rightfully so. As a retiree, you know the fucking rules. Plain and simple. And if you don't,
Rightfully so. What? That not that the case was dropped. Like he should have been punished. Rightfully so, or he should have.
absolutely. So
Yeah, there you
maybe
go.
I
Okay, I just want to
misunderstood.
clarify that. Yeah.
What's up there, Beanie? Yeah. So you're saying the judge threw out his case suing Hegseth?
Told Hegseth you cannot do that.
Oh, we told Hegseth he can't do that.
Ruled in favor of Mark Kelly.
Oh, that's horseshit.
Right. Okay. That's why I clarified it though, so everything's on track. You're good.
All right. Yeah. So these judges, they should be disbarred. They're not judges. They're activists. It's spelled out super cleanly in the UCMJ amongst other articles. So there's no number one. There's no excuse for it. A captain, you can't tell me he didn't know better.
He knows exactly. They know what they were doing.
Yeah, totally. And it is seditious. There's no reason to go out and say that.
No, yeah, exactly. Yeah. My point was we all, when I read the tweet and they said, "What do you think?" I put at the bottom, this will be easily overturned on appeal. You sign paperwork saying you will not speak against the government so long as you're going to collect a pension from the government.
Right.
We all signed paperwork saying, you still don't have you still fall under the UCMJ. So long as you draw a pension. He doesn't have the First Amendment on. He doesn't. None of that applies to him. Nope. The First Amendment does not apply to him. He can say whatever he wants. He can do whatever he needs. If he wants the First Amendment, he has to turn in his government pension. Otherwise, he's subject to the UCMJ. So for anyone who didn't know that, just so you know.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer, man. It's just
yeah. He doesn't have First Amendment rights. He does. I don't. That's why
I don't either, but I don't give a fuck. There's a big difference.
I mean, well, I might have had my fair share of negative comments of the previous administration, but I would not encourage insurrection or anything. I mean, I encourage to the limits of the law. You know what I'm saying? I would never stand up and tell me, hey, or try to give sideways messages. I mean, let me be very, very clear. There are malicious compliance in the military. And to define that real quick, if you haven't heard that, I mean, there are political agents in the military. There are hardcore progressives who are driving their agenda through the way they enforce the rules or choose to enforce the rules. And there are hardcore conservatives, that, enforce rules that are way, insane. Right. So you do get both ends. So the military is not free of politics. It is not.
Oh God, no! Are you kidding me? Look at my tour in Yokosuka. That tells you everything you need to know.
Yeah,
sure. Freaking bitch. Anyway, yeah, it's that kind of stuff tells me exactly what kind of leader he was. He must have been horrible to work under, man.
Yeah, the people that are there, like the congressman's son who's there because he needs some bona fides, but his platoon never is on patrol.
Right.
They always have KP.
Imagine
so
that.
He gets right. So he gets in country, but it never quite goes anywhere. But yeah, a lot of that stuff. Pilots.
It reminds me of Heartbreak Ridge.
Yeah.
He's Gunny's at telling the platoon commander, we're gonna be out there for PT in the morning. Are you going to join us, sir? No, I'm going to be late for preschoolers school, Gunny. Typical, right? I guarantee that's the type of leader that clown was.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even want to use leader in the same sentence with his name. It's just disgraceful.
Hey, you do see it all the time, and you saw it in programs too. I remember, and you'll remember this. We were both in the 90s. And there used to be no joint commission in the military. It was the inspector general, and that was some shit, man. Like they had power.
Joint commission is the biggest scam going.
Well, my favorite thing is so. What do I mean? Like when I say there's the IG, right? A panel of people who had done the job now went around and said whether or not you were.
Right.
Some of them had been passed up for promotion and were not happy, no more.
Right.
Or some of them are trying to get promoted. Anyway, bottom line, it was a panel of people you couldn't lie to. They knew they lied. That's how they got there. They know
That's
where the
right.
stuff is hidden. You know what I mean? They're the ones who taught the person who taught you. So, anyway, long story longer, they used to have this IG, and it was extremely effective.
It was a ball
Extremely
bust.
effective. But so that was a problem. So we get the Joint Commission, which is what hospitals out in town were using for a long time until they got in trouble for investment. So the Joint Commission allegedly, you'd have to read the reporting on it, used to have investments in their retirement accounts or whatever were invested in mutual funds that had investments in medical companies while they were going around certifying hospitals and their medical equipment. So they had to like change their name and allegedly these things happened a couple of times. And so a couple of new accreditations were able to spring up and try to live in the space. But for the longest time, the Joint Commission dominated the hospital certification landscape, and having their seal was a gold seal, right? Like this is a gold star hospital, if you will. And they would, you can apply to work for them, right? Like there's no like special whatever, right? I mean, they try to get people with experience in the industry, and they have a training program. You can go look at their website. Is there anything you'd like to add on that before I go into?
Yeah, it's the the epitome of fraud, waste, and abuse, especially from a military hospital standpoint, because we don't need it, but yet we're paying millions and millions of dollars to have them come around, and not just one of our hospitals, all of our hospitals and clinics.
Yeah,
And we're
yeah.
paying them to say whether we can see patients or not, basically. And guess what? We don't need their opinion, but it's something that some freaking senior captain that decided, hey, this would be a great idea for me to get promoted to admiral. And
I talked to the guy on the board.
The Joint Commission Board?
No, on the Navy panel when they decided to move to it.
Oh, what'd he say?
So yeah, so Andy's 100% right? Like here, I thought maybe you might point this out too, right? Every inspection team that comes to a military hospital is assigned a liaison to explain why we should fail. but don't fail us, right? So they have to have somebody walk around with them, because the military does things that the civilian world would never let fly. For example, it lets people go to school for 1 year and then go prescribe medications, do minor surgical procedures. Hell, pull some teeth, man. You don't like them chiclets? Kapow! Oh, you'd fail miserably, right? But they have to have somebody explain that to them, like, hey, this person does what a PA does, but we don't pay them shit.
We abuse the fuck out of them.
And here's the best part. He has no certifications when he gets out. So he either stays with us or he has to go back to school. We got him. So anyway. That's why somebody told me a long time ago, you don't go independent duty corpsman unless you just love the Navy.
It's facts.
I love the Navy. We're divorced now. The hole in my heart has been filled.
We just grew apart.
Right? So we're talking about, right, like scams run by these leaders, right? So like Andy said, this thing costs millions and millions. People get fired over this shit, right? Or they get promoted, right? A lot of people get fired. A lot of middle management gets smashed during the process, right? And anyway, I run into this Captain Brown, and I'm talking about how silly this whole thing, Captain Brown.
Doo-doo? Doo-doo Brown?
No. So I'm talking to Captain Brown, and we're talking about the Joint Commission. He goes, well, I sat on the board. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, and I'll tell you why we did it. He said, we did it for 2 reasons. I do not buy the first reason he gave. I do not buy that at all. I buy. I know you're like, well, give me the damn reason. But I want to tell you this before I say it, so you have a little impact with it. But I do not buy. He told me that was the number one reason. I don't buy it. I think someone said, hey, and that'll happen. And they were like, oh, yeah, right? So I'll give them to you in reverse order. The second reason, and this disgusted me, it's in itself. The second reason he said they did it was because captains of hospitals were retiring and not being able to get jobs of their civilian equivalent because their resume did not match their competition's resume. So that's not for the Navy. That's for after the Navy. So because these people, so that doesn't benefit the Navy at all. Giving these guys a resume, that doesn't benefit that. How does that help the Navy?
Yep.
But he said that was the second reason. What did he tell me the first reason was? Well, we wanted dependents to know that their health care is on par with their civilian equivalent. No,
you see the way they treat those dependents?
He said to me they under Champus they were going out in town too much. So, that was part of the shift.
They wanted to recapture the population.
Yeah, it was part of the shift to TRICARE, which was part of the move to the Joint Commission. It was all in one. And so he said we wanted I said, I bet you. That's why I say, I bet you someone in the meeting was like, oh, bro, yo, dependents, we could market that. Hey, your healthcare is the same. Look, we have gold seals. Even though your healthcare system doesn't have a guy that went to school 1 year just going hog wild.
Right? It's a lot like getting a Better Business Bureau sticker. It doesn't mean it. It really doesn't.
It was so funny. And so I talked about that at our last duty station. Right? I said, I want to have a sincere, serious conversation. And no one wants to have that, right? Because nobody really wants to be on record. How do I say it? You know how when you kind of think something, but as long as you don't speak it out loud, it really isn't. It just kind of stays a thought in the back of your head. Well, people were so resistant to have the conversation because I know they just didn't want to speak it out loud. Because I said, hey, listen, so what if Bethesda fails? Let's say Bethesda fails joint. Oh, I was in PAD school. That's why they didn't want to talk about it, because it's PAD school. I said, so what if they...
For everybody's knowledge.
It's patient admin. Everybody's going to learn how to be a patient admin expert. And I'm about to blow a hole in the whole thing, right? I'm like, so what if they do it at Bethesda? I said, so what if they fail Joint Commission? What would happen? He was like, they'll shut it down. I said, no, they won't. We're in a 3-front war right now with casualties coming left and right. They're not going to shut that down. He's like, well, they'd fire the CO. I said, so how does that affect me?
Right.
I don't care if they fire. Well, I don't even like him. I don't even know him. So what if they fire him? I don't care. But what I'm saying is, why are we paying for this? The IG was so much more effective. So much more effective. And this is nonsense. And I said, because my question was more along the lines of, so what if you fail? How does that affect me? It doesn't affect me if you fail. Like, right. We should be teaching we shouldn't be teaching sailors how to hide shit from the Joint Commission. We should be teaching them how to bandage casualties.
Yeah. It's the same old song and dance. That's exactly why I call Navy medicine cunts. Civilians under naval training. Right?
That's right.
They came into the military, but they want to be civilians so bad. They want to market the civilian model, and you just can't, man.
They want pictures in uniform, but they don't want to do it.
Right.
Exactly. Or they wanted their medical school. Take 2. Lewis talking. Or they wanted their medical school paid for.
Yep. That's
I knew an OBGYNist. He was in Yokosuka the first time I was there. He never wore his uniform. When they forced him to wear his uniform, it looked like it came out of the bottom of a sea bag. And the only devices he had on it were the hat devices. He got stopped. and made to put on the collar devices. No
Jeez.
name tag, nothing. He just walked with a blank uniform because his attitude was, I'm already an OBGYNist. You need me more than I need you.
Yep.
He used to, again, the reason he had to wear his uniform, the funny part was because he kept parking wherever the fuck he wanted on base, and he didn't care about traffic court. He was like, I'm a surgeon. He's like, what are you gonna do about it? He's like, I'm a surgeon. I have to get to the hospital. I have to.
Yeah.
So he just didn't
right.
give a shit.
And what are they gonna do?
And that was his attitude. He was so mad. I remember they wouldn't let him deliver his own baby. He wanted to deliver his own baby, and the hospital policy said no. And he was so mad that he bought a book, and it was lab tests for the home clinician. I never forgot this. Because he was like looking in it, and I don't know why we were friends. I don't know why we used to talk. Maybe because I was in trouble a lot and didn't give a shit or something. I don't know. Anyway, he was telling me, I was like, what is that? And he was like, oh. And he starts telling me about not being able to deliver his own baby. He goes, so I ordered this book, and I just ordered the most expensive shit I can think of for any lab I need. He goes, if I need your cholesterol, I'm not ordering cholesterol. I'm ordering like a Chem 49. He's like, I use this to order the book. I fuck this place. He said all the time.
Wow.
I was dying. I was like, oh my God, this guy's hilarious, right? This is my first duty station. This is my first.
Oh my God.
I'm out from under the big tent, right? Look, Ma, no hands. Yeah.
Just exactly what you needed.
Oh, I'm watching him like, Then I watch a first class. This shit was hilarious. Chief walks into this first class, and he said, you'll love this, Andy. This is in Yokosuka. He says, hey, I'm going to need you to be the LPO of the red team. And the first class looks up and goes, are you asking me or are you telling me? He goes, well, I'm asking you. He goes, oh, then no. Back to So the chief says, hey, Chen, get the fuck out of here. So I hear the door lock. So I'll leave. I see the first class later. I said, what happened, man? You the LPO now? He said, no. He said, no. I said, I heard the door shut. He goes, yeah. He goes, it's, it is what it is. He said, I said, what he said, well, he wanted me to be the LPO, and I told him no. And he said, how could you say no? It's going to affect your evals. I said, it already affects my evals. Because he had no C time, right? And he wasn't going to go to, and anyway, he broke it down for me. He said, I'm the only IDC that sees patients all day currently. All of your IDCs have a half-day schedule and admin time, right? They took the leadership positions, so I have all day. He said, he did the math, and it came out to like 40. What do you have? A patient every 20 minutes back then, so it would have been 3 an hour. For 2 hours. Yeah, so six patients, 6, 7, 8 patients, in an afternoon, times 5, right? Which I'm dumb at math. No, that should be easy, right? Yeah, I was just gonna say 30. Anyway, 40. Wait, 40.
First you said 6.
Yeah, well, 6 and 8, right? Because you figure stuff 1, stuff 2. I don't remember if we went to 4:30 or 4. Oh. Right. Anyway, 6 to 8. We'll say 35 to 40 patients a week, right? He said that. What does that translate into a month? He's like, do you think the red team wants to take that hit? Do you think Commander's going to take that hit? He's like, well, no. He's like, so what do you mean you're going to give me half a day every day like them? He's like, yeah, you're probably going to have to see. He was like, yeah, so no. He's like, no. He goes, look, it's better for me. I don't care. Let them have the bullets. I have my own thing going on here, and it's better for you. I'll continue to push the numbers. And he said, so he left. He goes, so no, I'm not the LPO of the red team. And then I can't cut the numbers that hard. Right. He said, I produce.
That's a full-time provider.
That's what he said. He said, you know, that was the agreement in the beginning. Like, you know, I wanted to do my own. That was Andre, by the way. He's like, I wanted to do my own thing here. You know, I got my own thing going on, you know, and I'll absorb the patients and they can do the leadership. You know, and that was our thing. He's like, and so he saw his patients, you know, and he took extras, you know, because he knew he wasn't, you know, he wasn't writing no fucking emails, man. That shit.
Right.
Um,
It's funny, non-IDCs just they don't understand the role of an IDC, and they think rank can trump that. And a lot of times, sorry, it
yeah,
don't.
yeah, we fall under the clinical. That was the other thing. I remember him telling me. He was like, "Look, there's the chain of command, and then there's the medical chain of command." He's like, "She could walk in here and tell me to clean my office, but if I walk out there and say hang a bag of Dion," he said, and I go back in and I come out and it's not hung, we're gonna have a conversation.
Yep. I had, I remember there was this chief. That's probably too kind. There was this E7 back, back when I was in Third Marine Regiment, and I was the regimental IDC. We had three. All right, we had two of the regimental companies hiking that morning, and we had one of the infantry battalions hiking. So I was assigned by the regimental surgeon, who was a captain. Says you're back here at the RAS. I need somebody here that I know can handle patients. These casualties coming through, and this is in Hawaii, so you know for certain we got heat casualties at a minimum. So anyway, we're all sitting around. The chief calls us all in, and we're talking about getting prepared for the morning. He's like, uniform of the day is this, blah 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 blah. And I said, well, I won't be at the formation. I'll be back here in the regiment, right, the RAS. And he's like, well, who says? Well, right now I say, you know, uh, that's who says. And he goes, well, I didn't give you permission. I said, funny thing, Chief, I don't need your permission. And he's doing this in front of the rest of the troops, right? I said, we can talk about it offline if you want to. No, we're going to talk about it right here. I said, I don't think you want that. He goes, well, we're going to talk about it. He goes, you will be here in the morning, full gear, your pack, everything. You're hiking. I said, it's not going to happen. I'm telling you right now. He says, are you telling me no? I said, that's exactly what I'm telling you. I said, since you want to do this in front of everybody, let me explain something you probably should have learned when you put your anchors on. That's called positional authority. Hey, what's up? Oh, shit, RJ. Talk about going to old school. Holy shit. So anyway, so we had this long drawn out thing. I show up the next morning. I'm in uniform of the day in Hawaii was PT gear, shorts and green t-shirt. That's how I showed up. And he starts going off on me in front of everybody, right? And he goes, I will make sure you never make chief.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. So I just turned around and walked away. Don't you walk away from me when I'm talking to him. Just kept going, right? Well, long story long, as you like to say, after all the hikes are over, all the casualties are done, all that shit, he comes into my office. He goes, my office now. And he had a counseling sheet for me, right? And I looked at it, disobeying orders, all bunch of shit, right? And I laughed. He said, you think it's funny? I said, let me tell you how funny I think it is. I wadded it up and I threw it in the fucking trash can. And then I got up and walked out. So he comes storming over to my office. He says, you're fired. You're no longer the regimental LP. I said, okay, cool. That's one huge responsibility I don't have to fucking worry about anymore. So I'm just chilling, right? And the regimental surgeon comes up and he's like, said, hey, why don't you just go do blah, 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 blah. I said, I'm sorry. I can't do that any longer, sir. He says, what do you mean? I said, I'm no longer the LPO. He says, what do you mean? And I told him. I got to explain to you, the regimental surgeon was this surfer dude that was way, way laid back, right?
What was his name?
Captain Barr.
Because there's a surfer dude that's way high up in Navy medicine that we thought in the 90s was getting out.
Oh, wow. So this was probably 2002, I think.
Okay.
No. I don't know. Anyway, so Type of dude that never, his voice never raised, nothing like that. And he says, "What?" I said, "Yes, sir, I'm fired." "Who fired you?" I said, "Chief." He said, "Well, who the fuck is Chief?" I never heard him say fuck before, for one. I said, "I'm assuming that's a rhetorical question, but he's in the blockhouse, sir." So he goes over there. My office is in a separate building, right? I could hear him ripping in to that chief, man.
Nice.
That dude comes back like 20 minutes later. HM1, I just need to inform you that you're still the LPO. And he made him apologize to me.
Oh, that had to hurt.
Oh, I guarantee it did. So
Oh, that had to hurt.
fast forward like, I don't know, 6 months, and I had transferred. I had made chief. This fool calls me. "Hey, Andy, it's Steve. I just wanted to call and tell you congratulations. I always knew you'd make it." And I said, "Hey, Steve, weren't you the one that told me you'd ensure that I never made chief?" He goes, "Well, I said, go fuck yourself." And I hung up. So he called the fucking CMC. I was at the schoolhouse at Numi, right?
Uh-huh.
I get called into the fucking CMC's office. "Hey, did you say this?" I said, "Yeah, you're damn right I did. And this is why." And I told him the whole story. He goes, "Well, fuck that guy. If he calls back, you tell him to talk to me."
Nice.
That was Steve
Nice.
Johnson. He was the CMC at Numi, man. But it's just like, figure it out, dude. You know what? Them anchors, it's not the end all be all. Rank
Yeah. Yeah.
doesn't always mean you're in charge of shit.
Well,
But
I,
it's fun.
my first, it's always, revenge stories are always wonderful. My first duty station as an IDC was my duty station. Anyway, I saw patients at Geiger for training, right? Like just to keep the skills fresh. I would go to
Hold on.
Geiger.
I have to acknowledge this. Look at Travis.
I see it.
Fucking strong work, dude.
Nice.
Fuck yeah.
So
Call me. I'll tell you all the secrets. I mean,
there you go.
never mind.
So, so I was at Geiger. I was like, fuck. I knew that was going to happen when you said, hold on. I lost my place.
Talk about seeing patients, the trainees.
No, I know. No, yeah, I got it. So I was thinking about Geiger. And Geiger's the infantry training, right? Not infantry. No. Let me
School of Infantry.
Yeah. Is SOI on Geiger? I didn't think SOI was on Geiger. I thought Geiger is the MCT.
Oh, maybe it is. Yeah.
It's MCT. MCT's on Geiger, right? Which is I don't want to be insulting. In my old age, I've become kinder, but here's what I would have said years ago. Red patches have AIDS and MCT is for queers. That's what I would have said.
Yep, the probe with the HIV platoon, right?
That was when I was younger and I could defend those words.
Right.
I'm older now. I have arthritis. I can't say crap like that.
Oh my God. Go ahead.
Oh no, yeah. So anyway, you see patients at Geiger. And I SIQ a guy, right? And then I get a staff sergeant coming in with his pistol. And I don't care. There's no so Carl was big on this, right? There's no rule that says you shouldn't have a gun in medical. He's like, what are you taking the MP's weapon? That would apply to everyone. He's like, there's no rule like that. It's just a local policy. You're never gonna find the US Navy saying weapons are forbidden in medical. Right? So Carl drove that into me. So I get this young HM2 like, hey, he's got a weapon in here, HM1. What should we do? I was like, nothing. First of all, you're not even loaded, right? And he's like, no. Like, you don't even have one. I was like, so his ass will be beaten before that thing clears the Kydex. Look at that. That's a duty holster. It's like, it's probably rusted shut. I was like, and then so after I got done insulting him and his gun because he had his chest all out and was looking for me, I turned to her and I was like, it's fine. They said, I said, there's no, I promise you. And I said the same things Carl said. So they went and tried to find something and they found, because there was another HM2 that just loved like embarrassing IDCs who were know-it-alls. But, she didn't know me and I don't know it all. And I'm happy to call, myself and you out. So
Right.
She tried to give me all pap smears my first day in the clinic. I was like, there's a female, or she's like, you're an IDC, you can do them. I said, yeah, I know I can. In an emergency without access to a female provider, you have one right down that hallway. So if you want to get us both in trouble, keep doing it. I said, but I'm telling you right now, I'm not doing them. So not when you have a female on deck. Nope, not happening.
Right.
That's what, yeah. And the PA came out and then tore her a new one and said, "Come down here and hang out with me." But so that person's there trying to look that up while I'm talking to him. I said, "What do you need?" He said, "USIQ'd my Marine in training." I said, "Okay." And he goes, "Why?" I said, I don't know. Do you have it?" Like they all look the same, right? Like they're all
right.
So he's like, USIQ'd my Marine. I'm like, all right, do you have it? And he goes, "Why?" He handed it to me and I was like, "Oh, cough and flu-like symptom." Like that's what I like written, I guess, And he's like, "Well, I just want you to know all you do is make a recommendation." I said, "You know what? You're right. But fortunately, my recommendation carries the weight of the commanding officer of the Camp Lejeune. So unless you find another 06, which isn't you, or a commanding officer, again, not you, I suggest you follow it." And then I turned around and I walked away. But if you got one, bring them back. Right? I mean, at the end of the day, my recommendation carries the weight of the commanding officer of the Naval Hospital Camp Lejeune. So find another 06 or find another, commanding officer. None of those are you. Staff sergeant, bye. You can exit here.
And when you come back, bring me some coffee, would you?
Oh man, I remember them telling me all the time, like I had to say that 3 or 4 times while I was there at Geiger, to different people.
Yeah, I believe it. It's a different environment, They got pressures coming down on them and well,
I had a kid that filled his Camelback with isopropyl alcohol.
Oh, wonderful.
Right? So, SA
one way or the other, huh?
Right? But he doesn't want the bad things that come with that.
Oh, of course.
You know what I mean? He just wants to not train anymore and go home, But you gotta go to the hospital. You gotta do all kinds of things, man. You can't. We don't just fix that and let you go. You're taking an ambulance ride and hanging out somewhere for a while, right? Because
you do know what USMC stands for, right? You signed.
I know a couple, but
you signed the motherfucking contract.
Yeah, there you go. So, right. So he doesn't want. He's just can I just be discharged? And so I had to turn, and I was racing through my index here. And then I just started giving him a speech about how you're too dumb to be let out into society. You can't tell the difference between alcohol and no, I can't. I said, I legally cannot discharge. Are you kidding me? You drank a Camelback full of isopropyl alcohol and you're telling me you thought it was water. You cannot be trusted in public. You are a danger to others. I was like, there's no way, man. I was like, so I just gave him a speech about how he's just too stupid to be released back into the public. And when I turned around, the HN was like dying laughing. He was like,
Did he cry? Did he make you cry?
He didn't say anything. Like nothing. Like for the rest of the time until he got in the ambulance, the kid just said nothing. He just sat in the bed.
He's too stupid to think of anything.
I was like, I can't let you out of here, man. You're too dumb to release into society. You can't tell the difference between isopropyl alcohol and water. No, man, no.
Doc Newsom, RJ, he brought up a name we hadn't talked about in a long time. You talk about a total piece of shit. This guy, he was a chief IDC, and he was not only just a horrible IDC and a horrible chief, just a bad person, But I hadn't thought of that name in a long time.
Post?
Yep. Donald Post. What a fucking word.
I was just talking to the guy telling the story about the Constitution and how the guy hung me up on an AMOL. I'll tell it for another time.
Oh,
but
yeah.
They have the similar last name. And I was like, I said, I'll tell you what, man. You're the guy with your same. Yes, you got relatives up there because the guy with your same last name saved my ass after 6 months of a headache.
Who? Do I know this?
Dave Ballard, the sub IDC.
Oh yeah, Dave.
Yeah, Dave, man. Oh man, he saved me. They were telling me about the AMOL. They thought so. I was on a wooden ship. I'll tell you guys what the hell.
Yeah, why not?
Andy's engaging in chat, guys. So if you want to engage Andy, get on chat.
No, I'm being summoned, but it's okay.
No, no worries. Well, you can still manage both chats.
Yeah.
Hey, long story longer. This guy calls me up. He says, "Hey, man, for those of you who've been in the military, he says, hey, I'm PCS and I need to wrap up some loose ends, and your ship is one of them. I need, I need a report of your AMOL inventory." I'm like, "What? I have an AMOL?" He's like, "Shit, mate, who told you don't have an AMOL?" I said, "The guy before me." He's like, "Well, he was wrong. It says here you have an AMOL." I said, "Well, I'm telling you, I don't have one. I've been all over." Like, I've been here a year now, right? You know, like, I'm like, we don't have an AMOL. And he's like, "Shit, mate, you have a sink in your medical?" And okay, so the USS Constitution is a museum. I'm not saying this. I'm telling you, the listener. It's a museum. It doesn't go anywhere. It has a medical, but no, it's the surgeon's cockpit. Nobody thinks of it as medical. Medical is in the building where I'm sitting talking on the phone to this retard. It's freaking mini Tim Walls I'm talking to. And, so he's like, "Do you have a sink?" And I'm like, I'm looking at a full bathroom, right? I'm like, "Yeah, I got a sink." And I'm like, "Yeah, I got a sink." And he's like, "Shit, man, that's part of your AMOL." And I'm like, in my head, I'm like, "No, it isn't." Like, this thing's on a building. So he's like, so then he says, "Do you have narcotics?" And I said, "Oh no, we don't have narcotics." And I don't even have to talk to the CO to tell you we don't want them. I said that straight up because I think the CO and someone else asked us about that, and we both already had that conversation. Like, I was like, "I'm good. I don't need to have any, man. We're in Boston. This is the number one medical system, or one of, you know what I'm saying? So no, I don't need that." So he's like, "Shit, mate, what do you do, when you go out to sea?" And I said, "Well, there's a doctor that comes, and if he wants, see, I think he knows what he's talking about. That's the problem. I assume this E8 knows what he's talking about, and that's where I went wrong."
Yep.
And he's shipmating me at E6, right? So this is wonderful. So he's like, so he tells me, I said, "Well, I have a doctor that comes, and if he wants narcotics, he brings them from the hospital. But no, I don't have any." And he's like, "Well, shit, mate, what happens if you have to sortie out?" And I'm like, "Huh?" Or no. First, he asked me about because he couldn't. He knew he needed to explain sortie when I didn't understand because we had a conversation about the IDC bag. I always forget this part. He said, "Do you have an IDC bag?" And I said, "No." And he said, "Shipmate," and I said, I know what an IDC bag is. I know what you're talking about." And he said, "Well, what do you have? A bag you packed?" And I said, "Yes, I do. And it made it through Afghanistan, Pakistan, and Mexico. I think it'll do okay here in Boston." And he goes, "Oh, you're an FMF corpsman?" And I said, "Yes, I've been on ship my whole career." I was like, "That's pretty cool." And then we never talked about the bag again. It never came in all of the conversations. The bag never came. Everything else came up. The bag never came up again. I shut that shit down. But so he said, "What about sortie?" And I'm in my head, I'm like, does he mean flying over and bombing? I'm like, that's so fucking stupid. I'm like, this is so stupid. This conversation is getting dumber and dumber. And I'm like, what do you mean, like bombing? He's like, "No." He's like, "I mean, like when a storm comes and you have to pull out quickly and you don't have time for this doctor to come from wherever with whatever you say they do when you have to emergency leave." And I said, "Oh man, we don't leave in a storm. We install chains and hope we don't smash into the pier." And he goes, "I'm gonna have to talk to your CMC about that." I was like, "Man, I'm pretty sure you can call the POTUS, but there's nothing gonna happen on that one." And but it still isn't occurring to me that he doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I think I'm like, this guy, what is this guy? What is this, some kind of test? So he starts threatening me with ATG to come up and inspect. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And this goes on for like 6 months. And, but like at different stages, Dave was there. Like, I panicked in the beginning, man, when he started threatening ATG. I'm like, I don't have anything. And this was before the captain. You remember I told you a story a long time ago. The captain didn't know, like we would argue a lot, and he didn't know if I was doing what I was like. He got to a point where he was like, "I am tolerating way more from this guy than what I know he's producing. I need to know he's producing before I tolerate any more of this shit." So he had called BUMED to come and inspect me. Surprise. I walked in one day. They said, "Hey, stand to the side. There's people in the office waiting on you." And they
Hmm.
ran through my shit. And then the funny thing is, right before we went upstairs for them to run through my stuff, the disgraced CMC that had to resign in disgrace, Russell, was there. Um,
Uh-huh.
yeah, before they ran through me, the senior chief gave the report to the captain. I'm gonna be honest, sir. You don't have many programs, but the ones you do, he's an example to the fleet. I heard that comment come out. I was like, but it didn't save me. They still sat me down and they inspected for 15 minutes and lectured me for 2.5 hours.
On what?
My interactions with junior sailors. Not
Uh,
not inappropriate, but like talking about combat, talking about things like
glorified
that.
pussy shit is what they're talking.
Yeah, and like my interaction with the captain, and how I'm very gruff and very blunt, and yeah, and just how I just had a general disdain for the blue side. So it was like it turned into like a 2.5 hour lecture, on like, I don't know,
Of course it did,
chill
'cause they
out
didn't
or
have
something.
anything on you.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't like, and I also did not, I never ever entertained Russell Smith's crap, the disgraced CMC who had to resign from the Navy. When he met me, he was the BUMED Master Chief, and I had just come from MARSOC, and all he could do was ask me if I knew all these SEALs and how he knew them and how they were friends and how,
Mhm.
he'd been on missions, and and I was just like eating at the time, and I was like, man, I'm just trying to fucking eat. I don't really know who you are, and I don't really care who you are,
Yeah, right.
because you know what I learned I learned in MARSOC, and this was not like training or anything. This was just me trying to be nice to people. When you meet someone, someone meets you. Two people meet each other, if you will.
Mhm.
And what I learned is 9 out of 10 times, I'm not the one calling you for anything. 9 out of 10 times. I try to exhaust all my resources before I bother you. A lot of people, I truly believe I was their number 1 or 2 phone call. Like, "Can I do you a favor?" Or because I would, and so when I got to the Constitution, I saw other first classes running around chasing, the chief, and like, coming in on those senior enlisted weekends, and I was like, "I'm not doing any of that, man. These people are bothering me already." Like, my first week there, I was getting phone calls, "When are you PCSing? When are you PCSing? When are you PCSing?"
Jesus.
And like every time I went to the Constitution and I had duty on one of those weekends when the senior enlisted was there, the senior enlisted corpsman always want to come up to medical,
Of course.
always got something to say, always got,
It just it goes right back to earlier in the show. It just highlights that there is politics in the fucking military.
yeah. Yeah, and so I blew him off one time, right? Because I just was like, I don't know. To me, I was like, there's so much separation. Like, why are we even talking?
Right?
Like, you're the BUMED guy, right? Like, you've already had CMC roles. Like, why are we even talking? And I don't know any of your people. That's the other thing. We were so new in the game. We weren't doing joint missions. Nobody knew how to employ us.
Mhm.
I'm dead serious. People were like,
Yeah.
teams would come back and debrief, like, well, we got in the country, and the sort of commander was like, I don't really know what to do with you. What are your capabilities? And they're like, are you serious? Like, we sent like an entire slide, and they'd be like, oh, well, that sounds good. All right, well, let's see how you do down there burning the shitters.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we'll work from there, right? And you're like, oh my God.
That is an awesome, utilization of resources right there.
But that's kind of what would happen, man, would be, like, people didn't know what to do with us when I was there.
Mm.
We didn't even have a training cell. They had to send us all around I mean, I think that was wonderful. It was really cool. We got to go to a lot of top tier schools, that, they don't go to anymore because it's in house now, which is probably better. I mean, and, you can tailor and do things. Yeah, man. I mean, it was just this is different.
Yeah, different times. You know, I knew the exact moment I would never make senior chief. So I when I was at Beachmaster Unit 2, when I got there, it was the place where IDCs went to say, fuck you, I'm quitting. I've dropped my pack, right? The fucking CDO had the medical records key on the CDO key ring when I first got there. I about shit myself when I found that out. Anyway, so I developed, I basically, and I'm not bragging, I'm just saying this because it's contextual to the story. Um, I basically took that medical department and built it from scratch. There were no archived files. There was no, logbook. There was nothing. They just had records and that was it. Hell, there weren't even really any supplies. Um, it was so bad they had 5 beach party teams, is what they called them, that deployed independently. We didn't have corpsmen. They took OSs and sent them to EMT school, and we were giving them controlled medicines to carry with them on deployment. I'm like, oh my god, what is going on here? So again, long story. I went in and I basically told the CEO that he's fucking up and he's just looking to get fired off of that shit. Um, I built literally I built the M dorm. I built everything from scratch. So far as I built an AMOL, since you were talking about AMOLs later, and I got it approved, and that's for the Naval Beach Group in the Navy. Period, not just East Coast or West Coast, whatever. So anyway, in doing all that, it wasn't enough. So I decided I'd started the Sickle Screeners course, and I had all the junior corpsmen from all over Hampton Roads coming over. Well, they had the big Medical Master Chief Conference in Norfolk that year, and Big Bob Elliott. I don't know if you remember him or not. He was the force at the time, Force Master Chief. Anyway, they came over. They wanted to see how I was running the Sickle Screener course, and the Surflant Medical Master Chief Bob Searles was there, and he's my height or shorter, and he's got some serious Napoleonic issues going on, if you know what I mean.
Don't they all?
God, man, no, not all of us. I don't.
Not you, but I mean, I'm like, when they get up,
Yeah. So,
special kind of person that stays over 30.
so we're talking, and Bob's asking me about the program, and then he's asking me about the medical department. He goes, "Man, it looks like you've done a hell of a job here, and I was talking about it, and fucking Bob Searles opens up his mouth and starts saying, "Yeah, when I was here, I ran this. It was a tight ship here when I was here." I said, "Really? That's funny, Master Chief, because I don't. There's nothing here. There's no archive file. Your name is nowhere around anything in this building. So it's funny you say that, especially after I just busted my ass building this motherfucker from scratch." And he started going off. I said, "I don't know who you are. You're not in my chain of command. You can fucking get the fuck out of my office." And that's when Bob stepped. Rob Girardi. Do you remember him?
I know the name.
Rob grabs him physically and moves him out of my office. And I was like, all right, whatever. Well, guess who sat the fucking 8 board that year?
Oh, yeah.
Yep. So,
yeah. That's how it goes, man.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. I remember being told early in my career, you should retire as a first class. That's and anything back when you could retire as an E5. Anything under the first class is lazy. You should retire as a first class. If you don't retire as a chief, it's understandable. Now you're getting into politics. But there's no excuse for first class. You should be able to score high enough on the test to overcome any promotable. If you just know you need to study, right? Get your ass in that book. But I always kind of abided by that, right? I mean, and then and of course, if you're an IDC, you make chief. And if you're a sub IDC, you make,
well,
you're supposed to make 8.
You put your foot in your mouth.
Yeah. Oh, so I remember when I replaced the IDC on the Constitution, I forget who it was in my chain of command. Yeah, I don't remember. It might have been Dave. Who knows? They were like, "Are you going to pursue that Annex Q for the Constitution?" I was like, "What? Oh, man, I don't even know what that guy was talking about on that." They were like, "All right, great. That's all we need to know, man. All right, great." you'll never hear from us again. You know.
Good.
We were gonna tell him no. We're gonna have to, but it was gonna take a whole board and da 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 or something. The guy before me was pushing for the an Annex Q to the Constitution to have its own.
He just didn't have enough to do, did he?
Or no, not Annex Q. That's the Marine Corps term. He wanted it to have its own appendix in the IDC instruction.
Why? Yeah, find something to do, buddy. You know what?
I think that was what he wanted to do. But the problem is, you may have that free time, which, yeah, I mean, I certainly could have done that on the Constitution. I had that free time. But everyone else is busy. The rest of the freaking Navy's busy, man.
And let's face it, it's a fucking museum, man. It ain't going anywhere.
That's why I said the rest of the Navy's busy, man. My time there was definitely 3 years relaxed. I mean, I was angry, frustrated, but you know what? Those are the same angers and frustrations I have everywhere I go in life. They're my personality.
RJ, you had a different story though, dude. Different.
Yeah, yours is different.
I know what happened, so I'm gonna tell you that wasn't maybe like 5% you, but 95% of the piss poor leadership you had that I saw firsthand.
Always, man. Always comes down to that.
But anyway, looks like it's about time to wrap it up.
I think so, my friend.
I got some puke to clean up and some food to eat. I don't know which order I'm going to do that in.
No worries, man. Before we get off, I just want to put out to the public that we're back and I'm reinstating old challenges and issuing new ones in the show 2025. 2v2. Me and Andy got the title.
I almost forgot to mention the book is out.
Oh,
yes, I have busted my ass. I have published The Adler Compound. It's on Amazon. Feel free to go check it out. I would greatly appreciate it. And if you do decide to, leave a comment on Amazon. Leave a review. I would appreciate it. That helps me out quite a bit. But it's a good fucking story. That's why you should read it.
5-star reviews. Keep your 1 stars to yourself.
That's right. Anyway, that's all I got. The other thing I have is that in the very near future, we will be in some bookstores and libraries.
Awesome.
So that's the Adler Compound, RJ. Look at that. By yours truly. Can you see it? There we go.
It's backwards.
It's whatever. I don't know.
That's the way the camera works.
Yeah. Anyway, check it out on Amazon. Look it up at the Adler Compound, or you can just search my name and it'll pop up. Either way, I would appreciate your support. More importantly, I feel it's a damn good story, and I think people get something out of it.
Hell yeah.
And with that being said, good night. Peace out.
You're listening to Nothing's Off the Table with Andy and Lou and Admiral